The morning fog rolled off the ocean, wrapping the seaside town of Port Haven in a damp, gray blanket. Inside the sprawling Victorian home on the cliffs, Elena adjusted the curtains, trying to capture the little light that filtered through for her morning routine. Once, this house had been filled with the smell of turpentine and oil paints, back when she was an art teacher with a vibrant spirit. Now it smelled of lemon polish and silence. Marcus, her husband of 9 years, descended the grand staircase. He was already on a call, his voice booming with the confidence of a man who reshaped skylines. As the CEO of Sterling Properties, Marcus was the town's golden boy, charismatic, wealthy, and utterly detached from the woman pouring his coffee. Black. 2 sugars. Hurry, he snapped, not looking up from his tablet. He was checking property values, his face illuminated by the cold blue light of the screen. Elena placed the cup on the granite island. I made those blueberry scones you like, she offered tentatively. Her hands, once stained with vibrant pigments, were now red from scrubbing. She had given up her studio to support Marcus's early career, transforming from an artist into the perfect, invisible housewife. No time. I have a meeting with the zoning board, Marcus muttered, taking a sip. He grimaced. It's lukewarm, Elena. Can't you get even the simple things right? Before she could apologize, thumping footsteps announced the arrival of Lily, their 7-year-old daughter. She clutched a stylus and a beat-up digital drawing pad to her chest. Morning, Daddy. Look, I drew a seagull. Marcus's demeanor shifted instantly. The scowl vanished, replaced by a dazzling, practiced smile. There's my little Picasso. Let me see. He glanced at the screen for a millisecond before patting her head. Beautiful, sweetheart. Daddy has to go build skyscrapers now, but be good for your mother, okay? He grabbed his briefcase and stormed out, leaving a gust of cold air in his wake. Elena watched him go, a familiar hollow ache in her chest. She spent the morning in her usual rhythm, cleaning, organizing, and erasing any trace of imperfection in their home. Around noon, a courier van pulled up the long driveway. A man in a blue uniform handed her a thick, heavy envelope embossed with the logo of Blackwell and Associates, the most ruthless law firm in the state. Elena's hands trembled as she tore the seal. The header screamed at her. Petition for dissolution of marriage. She sank onto the cold foyer tiles. The words swam before her eyes. Irreconcilable differences. Full custody. Exclusive possession of the marital residence. The front door unlocked. Marcus walked in, hours earlier than usual. He stepped over the envelope on the floor, looming over her like a skyscraper blocking the sun. I see you got the mail, he said, his voice devoid of any warmth. Pack a bag for the guest room, Elena. I'm done pretending you're adequate. Elena looked up, tears blurring her vision, but Marcus wasn't finished. He leaned down, whispering a secret he had kept hidden for months. A revelation that would shatter her world completely. Adequate. Elena choked out, clutching the papers to her chest. I gave up everything for you. My career, my art, my studio. And look where that got us, Marcus interrupted, checking his watch. A cluttered house and a wife who spends her days daydreaming. I need a partner, Elena, not a dependent. My lawyer has outlined the terms. You'll leave. Lily stays with me. She needs stability, not your bohemian chaos. He walked past her into the kitchen as if she were a piece of furniture he had decided to discard. Elena scrambled to her feet, panic rising in her throat like bile. You can't take Lily. She's my daughter. I'm the one who raises her, who helps her with her art, who tucks her in. And who pays for the roof over her head? Marcus opened the fridge, grabbing a bottle of sparkling water. I suggest you check your accounts before you threaten me with a legal battle you can't afford. A cold dread washed over her. Elena fumbled for her phone, her fingers slipping on the screen as she logged into their joint banking app. It was the account where they kept their savings, the money from the sale of her grandmother's cottage, the funds she thought were safe. Balance $0. She swiped frantically to the checking account. $14.52. Marcus. She whispered, the blood draining from her face. Where's the money? There was over $80,000 in there last week. Business investments, Marcus said smoothly, taking a sip of water. Sterling Properties needed liquidity. It's all perfectly legal, Elena. As the primary earner, I have discretion over investment capital. Unfortunately, the market is volatile. The money is tied up. Gone effectively. He smiled then, a shark-like baring of teeth. You have no income. No savings. No assets in your name. How exactly do you plan to hire a lawyer? How will you feed Lily? The court won't give custody to a homeless, unemployed artist. Elena felt the room spin. He hadn't just filed for divorce. He had executed a demolition. He had systematically dismantled her life before she even knew the war had started. I'll sell my jewelry, she said, her voice shaking but defiant. My mother's emerald necklace. It's worth enough for a retainer. Marcus laughed, a dry, humorless sound. Oh, that old thing? I had it appraised and secured in a safety deposit box last month. For insurance purposes, of course. You don't have the key. Elena realized with terrifying clarity that this wasn't just a separation. It was an eviction from her own life. But as she stared at the empty bank app, a notification popped up from an unexpected source, offering a sliver of hope she hadn't anticipated. The notification was an old email alert from a local Arts Council newsletter. It wasn't money, but it sparked a memory. Jim Harrison. He had been a patron of her art gallery shows years ago, before she married Marcus. He was a lawyer now, semi-retired, operating out of a small office above a bakery in the town square. Elena waited until Marcus left to pick up Lily from school, a task he had suddenly insisted on doing himself lately, and sprinted to her car. The engine sputtered. The gas light was on. She had just enough fuel to get to town. Harrison's office smelled of yeast and old paper. Jim Harrison was a man who looked like he was carved from driftwood, weathered, sturdy, and honest. He listened to Elena's story, his bushy eyebrows knitting together as she explained the empty accounts and the missing jewelry. It's a classic starvation strategy, Elena, Harrison grunted, leaning back in his creaking chair. Blackwell is behind this. He advises his high-net-worth clients to choke off resources, so the spouse settles for pennies just to survive. I don't care about the money, Elena pleaded, gripping the edge of his desk. I just want Lily. Marcus works 80 hours a week. He doesn't know her allergies, he doesn't know she needs a nightlight. He just wants to win. Harrison sighed, pulling a file from his drawer. We can file an emergency motion for funds, but Blackwell will tie it up in court for weeks. In the meantime, we need to see what they have on you. Did you bring the petition? Elena handed over the papers. Harrison flipped through the thick stack, his frown deepening with every page. He stopped at the section labeled Evidentiary Exhibits. Elena, he said softly, they aren't just claiming you're broke. They're claiming you're mentally unstable. He turned the document around. Attached were photos of the house. One showed the kitchen counter covered in hazardous-looking paint thinners and sharp palette knives, right next to a child's juice box. Another showed a chaotic mess of canvases blocking the fire exit in the hallway. That's not real. Elena gasped. I keep my supplies in the garage. I haven't painted in the kitchen in years. And this? Harrison pointed to a credit card statement. Purchases for excessive luxury art materials totaling $5,000 last month. Did you buy these? No. I haven't bought a new brush in 6 months. They're building a narrative, Harrison warned. The obsessive artist. They'll paint you as a woman so consumed by her failed hobby that she endangers her child and bankrupts her family. Harrison closed the file, looking grim. But the worst part isn't the photos, Elena. It's the witness list. There's a name here that changes everything. Someone who claims to have been watching you and Lily for months. Elena drove home in a daze, Harrison's warning echoing in her ears. Dr. Sophia Chun. Child psychologist. The name meant nothing to her, but the accusation in the file was damning. Observed erratic maternal behavior and projection of artistic failure onto the minor child. Who was this woman? And when had she been watching them? Living in the house with Marcus became a psychological siege. He moved into the guest suite but dominated the common areas. He began a campaign of subtle gaslighting designed to break her spirit before the court date. If Elena cooked dinner, Marcus would sniff it and grimace. Smells burnt again. Come on, Lily, let's go get pizza. And Lily, innocent and hungry, would cheer. leaving Elena alone with a casserole she had spent her last few dollars making. Marcus started buying Lily's affection aggressively. A new bike one day, a massive dollhouse the next. "See," he would say loudly. "Daddy can provide things Mommy can't." One evening, Elena was folding laundry in the living room when Marcus returned from a late business dinner. He tossed his jacket over the sofa. As Elena picked it up to hang it, old habits dying hard, a scent wafted from the fabric. It wasn't alcohol or cigar smoke. It was perfume. A very specific, clinical scent. Crisp, like antiseptic mixed with expensive jasmine. It was sharp and professional, yet undeniably feminine. "Who were you with?" Elena asked, holding the jacket. Marcus snatched it back. "My legal team. Preparing to clean up your mess." "Don't interrogate me, Elena. You lost that right when you became a liability." Later that night, Elena went to tuck Lily in. The 7-year-old was sitting up in bed drawing furiously on her new iPad. A gift from Marcus to replace her old cracked tablet. "What are you drawing, sweetie?" Elena asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Lily quickly flipped the cover closed. "Nothing. Just houses." Elena noticed a hesitation in her daughter's eyes. Lily looked tired, dark circles forming under her eyes. "Lily, is everything okay? Is he saying anything to you?" "Daddy says you're sick," Lily whispered, picking at her duvet. "He says you have artist sickness in your head and that's why you cry. He says I have to be careful or I'll catch it too." Elena felt her heart shatter. It was poison, pure and simple. But as she leaned in to hug her daughter, she caught a faint whiff of something on Lily's hair. That same sharp scent of antiseptic and jasmine that was on Marcus's jacket. The scent on Lily's hair kept Elena awake all night. Why would her daughter smell like the woman Marcus was seeing? Unless the woman wasn't just a mistress, but someone who had access to Lily. The next few days were a blur of legal preparation and domestic torture. Marcus continued his performance of the perfect father. He began picking Lily up from school every day, leaving Elena pacing the hallway, terrified he wouldn't bring her back. One afternoon, Lily came home quiet and withdrawn. She went straight to her room, clutching her old, cracked tablet, the one Elena had bought her 2 years ago for drawing. Marcus had tried to throw it away when he bought the iPad, but Lily had fished it out of the bin, crying hysterically until he let her keep it. Elena knocked gently on the door. "Lily? Honey, I made cookies." "I'm not hungry," came the small voice. Elena pushed the door open. Lily was sitting in the corner, not drawing, just staring at the blank screen of the old tablet. She looked up, her eyes filled with a confusion that no 7-year-old should have to process. "Mommy," she asked, "do I have to choose?" "Choose what, baby?" "The nice lady. She asked me who I wanted to live with. She said if I choose you, Daddy will be very sad and he might lose his job because he'll be so sad. But if I choose Daddy, you can go to a special school to learn how to be happy again." Elena dropped to her knees. Who is the nice lady?" "Dr. Sophia," Lily said innocently. "Daddy takes me to see her after school. We play games. She smells like flowers and medicine." The realization hit Elena like a physical blow. Dr. Sophia Chun, the independent expert witness. Marcus wasn't just dating her. He was using his lover to psychoanalyze their daughter and manipulate her testimony. "Lily, listen to me," Elena said fiercely, grabbing her daughter's hands. "You don't have to choose anyone to save them. Daddy isn't going to lose his job and I am not sick. Do you understand?" Lily nodded, but her eyes darted to the door, fearful. "But Dr. Sophia said not to tell you. She said it's our secret game." Elena hugged her daughter, a cold fury replacing her despair. Marcus had crossed a line. He was using a child psychologist, his mistress, to brainwash their child. She needed proof and she needed it before the trial started in 2 days. Elena called Harrison immediately. "It's a conflict of interest. It's malpractice. She's sleeping with him and treating my daughter." "We know that, Elena, but we can't prove it." Harrison's voice was weary over the phone. "I looked into Dr. Chun. She's careful. No paper trail connecting her to Marcus personally. If we accuse a licensed psychologist of misconduct without hard proof, the judge will throw it out and you'll look paranoid." Exactly what they want. The morning of the hearing arrived. The coastal wind battered the courthouse windows, a fitting backdrop for the storm inside. Marcus arrived in a bespoke navy suit, flanked by Attorney Blackwell, a man who looked like a vulture in a tie. Elena wore her only good dress, a simple gray wool piece. She felt small in the cavernous courtroom. She sat beside Harrison, her hands clasped so tight her knuckles were white. The proceedings began with Blackwell painting a picture of Elena as a negligent dreamer. He showed the staged photos of the dangerous art supplies in the kitchen. He produced the credit card statements. "Your Honor," Blackwell droned, "Mrs. Sterling is a woman who refuses to grow up. She spends thousands on paints while the family struggles. She leaves hazardous chemicals within reach of a child. She is unfit." Elena bit her tongue until she tasted copper. Lies. All lies. Then the doors opened. The defense calls Dr. Sophia Chun. A woman walked in. She was stunning, poised, elegant, wearing a white blazer that screamed clinical professionalism. As she passed the defense table, Elena saw it. A microscopic, almost imperceptible glance between her and Marcus. A flicker of intimacy. A smirk. And then the scent hit Elena. Jasmine and antiseptic. The same smell from the jacket. The same smell from Lily's hair. Dr. Chun took the stand. She adjusted the microphone with manicured hands. "I have conducted an extensive evaluation of the family dynamic," she began, her voice smooth as silk. As Dr. Chun opened her folder, Elena saw Lily, sitting in the back with a court-appointed guardian, clutch her old cracked tablet tightly to her chest. The child's eyes were wide, fixed on the woman who had promised her secret games. "Dr. Chun," Blackwell asked, pacing before the witness stand, "based on your professional observations, how would you characterize the mother's relationship with the child?" Dr. Chun looked directly at the judge, her expression one of practiced concern. "It is a textbook case of parentification and emotional enmeshment. Elena uses Lily as an emotional crutch. During my sessions with the child, which were conducted with the father's consent, Lily expressed significant anxiety about her mother's moods." "Did the child give examples?" "Yes. Lily described her mother crying over paintings and forgetting to make dinner. She described feeling responsible for her mother's happiness. This is deeply damaging for a 7-year-old. Elena wanted to scream. She cried over paintings because Marcus had told her they were garbage. She forgot dinner once because she was nursing Lily through the flu." "And the father?" Blackwell asked. "Mr. Sterling is the stabilizing force," Dr. Chun said, nodding toward Marcus. "He provides structure. Lily lights up when she speaks of him. He is the primary psychological anchor." Harrison leaned over to Elena. "She's good. Too good. She's reciting the custody statute almost verbatim." Harrison stood up for cross-examination. He tried to rattle her. "Dr. Chun, isn't it true you've been seen dining with Mr. Sterling outside of professional settings?" "Objection," Blackwell roared. "Relevance? Hearsay." "Sustained," the judge sighed, looking bored. "Mr. Harrison, stick to the psychological evaluation." Harrison tried again. "Dr. Chun, did you interview the mother?" "I attempted to reach out," Dr. Chun lied smoothly. "Mrs. Sterling was unavailable and hostile." Elena gasped. "I never got a call." "Order," the judge snapped. Dr. Chun stepped down, looking untouched. The judge looked at his watch. "We'll reconvene after lunch for the mother's testimony. But I'll be frank, Mr. Harrison. Unless you have something substantial to counter this expert opinion, the court is leaning heavily toward the father." During the recess, Elena and Harrison sat on a bench in the hallway. Harrison looked defeated. "It's a setup, Elena. Perfect frame job. We have your word against a respected doctor and a pillar of the community." "So I lose," Elena whispered. "I lose my daughter because I can't lie as well as they can?" "You have to testify," Harrison said grimly. "You have to go up there and tell the truth with so much conviction that the judge has to believe you. But be warned, Blackwell will try to make you snap. If you cry, if you yell, you prove Dr. Chun right." Back in the courtroom, Elena took the stand. She felt exposed like a deer in the crosshairs. Harrison guided her through her story gently. She spoke of her love for Lily, the hours they spent drawing together, the way she managed the household on a budget Marcus kept deliberately tight. Then Blackwell stood up. He didn't pace, he stalked. Mrs. Sterling, he began, holding up a photograph. This is your kitchen, correct? It looks like it, but those chemicals. Yes or no, Mrs. Sterling? Yes, but. And this credit card statement. You admit the card is in your name. Marcus uses it. Ah, so your husband, a successful CEO, steals his wife's credit card to buy glitter and canvas? Blackwell chuckled, and a few people in the gallery laughed with him. He bought them to stage the photos. Elena insisted, her voice rising. That sounds like a paranoid delusion, doesn't it? Blackwell said softly, leaning in. Just like Dr. Chan suggested. You see conspiracies everywhere to explain your own failures. Blackwell paused, then pulled out a final piece of evidence. Mrs. Sterling, let's talk about the night of October 14th. The night the police were called to your home. Elena froze. October 14th. The night she had found out Marcus was draining the savings. She had screamed. She had thrown a vase. Not at him but at the wall in sheer frustration. I was upset, Elena stammered. Upset. Blackwell read from a police report. The report says domestic disturbance. Neighbors reported uncontrollable shrieking. Your husband declined to press charges to protect you. Was that the night you decided to become a victim, Mrs. Sterling? He stole our money. Elena shouted, standing up. He gaslit me. He's lying. Sit down, witness, the judge barked. See. Blackwell spread his hands, turning to the judge. Hysteria. Instability. Violence. She admits to throwing objects in the home where a child sleeps. Elena slumped back, tears streaming down her face. She had done exactly what Harrison warned her not to do. She looked crazy. She looked dangerous. Marcus sat at the defense table, his face a mask of sorrowful resignation, shaking his head as if to say, see what I have to deal with? The judge scribbled furiously. I've heard enough from the mother. Elena returned to her seat, feeling the weight of the inevitable. She looked back at Lily. The little girl wasn't looking at her mother or father. She was staring intently at her old tablet, her small fingers tapping a sequence on the screen. The court adjourned for the day. Closing arguments were set for tomorrow morning. Harrison didn't say much as they walked out. Go home, Elena, he said softly. Get some rest. We'll try to mitigate the visitation rights tomorrow. Visitation. The word tasted like ash. She was going to be a visitor in her daughter's life. That night, Elena sat in Lily's empty room. Marcus had taken Lily to a hotel to avoid the stress. The house was silent. Elena packed a bag. Not for herself but for Lily, her favorite teddy bear, her night light, the special hypoallergenic soap she needed. She was preparing to lose. But miles away in a luxury hotel suite, Lily wasn't sleeping. She was hiding under the covers with her old tablet. Marcus and Dr. Chan were in the next room, clinking champagne glasses, celebrating their victory. She fell apart beautifully. Marcus's voice drifted through the door. You were brilliant, Sophia. The paranoid delusion line was a nice touch, Sophia laughed. Once we have custody, we can send the kid to boarding school in Switzerland. I don't want her hanging around the penthouse. Lily froze. Boarding school? She looked down at her tablet. It wasn't connected to the internet. Marcus had cut the Wi-Fi. But it had a camera. And it had a voice recorder app that Elena had taught her to use for audio notes on her drawings. Lily pressed a button. A file opened. It wasn't a drawing. It was a video. The next morning, the atmosphere in the courtroom was final. The judge looked ready to sign the papers and go to lunch. We are here to issue the ruling on custody and asset division, the judge announced. Based on the expert testimony regarding the mother's mental state and the father's financial stability. Elena closed her eyes. Wait. The small voice cut through the silence like a bell. Everyone turned. Lily stood up in the back row, shaking off the hand of the court guardian. Lily, sit down, Marcus hissed, his smile tightening. I have to show the judge, Lily said, her voice trembling but loud. She walked into the aisle, holding up her cracked, battered tablet. Mommy didn't know. Daddy didn't know. Young lady, this is highly irregular, the judge said, peering over his glasses. Please, Elena whispered, standing up. Let her speak. Marcus stood up abruptly. Your Honor, my daughter is confused. She's acting out because of the stress her mother caused. I demand she be removed. I'm not confused, Lily shouted. She ran to the bench, dodging the bailiff. You have to watch. It's my art project. The judge, perhaps out of curiosity or pity, signaled the bailiff to stop. Let me see the device. Lily handed the tablet up. The judge pressed play. The sound was turned up to maximum. It wasn't a drawing. It was a video recording taken from the perspective of a child hiding under a table. The courtroom screens flickered to life, mirroring the tablet's display. The video was shaky, framed by the wooden legs of a dining table. It was clearly recorded by a child hiding underneath. On screen, 2 pairs of legs were visible. One wore Marcus's expensive Italian loafers. The other wore red high heels. When is she going to be gone, Marcus? Dr. Chen's voice rang out, clear and undeniable. I'm tired of sneaking around. Did you plant the paint thinner like I told you? A collective gasp swept through the room. Elena covered her mouth. Done, came Marcus's voice. Took the photos this morning while she was at the pharmacy. It looks like a meth lab in there. The judge will think she's insane. And the kid? Lily believes whatever I tell her. I told her Elena is sick. Once we get custody, we ship the brat to that school in Zurich. I want the house to ourselves. Good. Just make sure you keep draining the accounts. She can't fight if she can't eat. The video ended. The silence in the courtroom was absolute, heavy and suffocating. Marcus's face had gone the color of ash. Dr. Chan looked like a statue, her composure shattered. Attorney Blackwell was slowly closing his briefcase, physically distancing himself from his client. The judge slowly lowered the tablet. His face was red with a suppressed fury that terrified everyone in the room. He looked at Dr. Chan. Dr. Chan, the judge said, his voice dangerously quiet. I am ordering the bailiff to detain you immediately for perjury and conspiracy to commit fraud. The medical board will be hearing from me within the hour. He turned to Marcus. Mr. Sterling, you have attempted to manipulate this court, frame your wife and abandon your child. I have never seen such a display of malice. It's a fake. It's AI. Marcus shouted, desperate. The kid made it up. Sit down, the judge roared, slamming the gavel so hard it echoed like a gunshot. Judgment is rendered immediately. Full custody is awarded to the mother, Elena Sterling. The father is granted 0 visitation rights pending a criminal investigation. The judge continued, writing furiously. Furthermore, I am ordering a full forensic audit of Sterling properties. All marital assets, including the house and the hidden funds, are awarded to Mrs. Sterling as punitive damages for this charade. Police officers moved in. Marcus was handcuffed, shouting obscenities. Sophia Chun was led away in tears. Elena stood frozen, unable to process the sudden shift in gravity. She felt a small hand slip into hers. Did I do good, Mommy? Lily asked, looking up with big eyes. Elena dropped to her knees, hugging her daughter so hard she thought she might never let go. You did good, baby. You did so good. Lily smiled, hugging her old cracked tablet. I told you, Mommy. I was drawing houses. But sometimes you have to draw the monsters inside them too.